All right, friends, can you hear me? Hi, Rolf.
Good morning, Sergey. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Let me speak a
Yes,
few words
very well.
on our webinar. I'd
No
like to
problem.
introduce to everybody all the participants. My name is Sergey Laury. I'm the head of online communications divisions for the public relations department here at Nano. We are being helped by Irina Ushakova, who is organizing and helping us with the webinar. And our speaker is Rolf Easto, who kindly accepted to join us here at the webinar. He is the Global Sales and Marketing Manager for the AZONetwork. Today we are starting a series of webinars dedicated to various aspects of modern communications technologies available to everybody. And as we've seen the demand and decided to start it from the first topic to be the communications via internet worldwide. As we've met with Rolf here in Moscow at the Rus Nanotech 2011 Nanotechnology International Forum, we've decided to do this and he kindly accepted our invitation. So let me pass the scene to Rolf. He's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Sergey. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome from England, where we are based. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us today. Hopefully, you can understand my English. I'm sure your understanding of English is probably better than my Russian. I'm going to take a little bit of time today to try and outline in the best way that we can how we can help you with your businesses be more prominent on the web globally, but also how we can help you promote your businesses around the world, and some of the things that will work well for you and some of the things that maybe don't work as well that we could help you avoid. Personally, from my perspective, I'm the Global Sales and Marketing Manager, as Sergey said, for the AZONetwork group of companies. We have been in business now for over 10 years, and basically we operate 9 websites around the world that are completely global. We are based in Sydney in Australia. That's another story altogether. I work from the UK, where our sales team and marketing team is based, because it's a very, very good place to work around the world with everybody. We have a number of clients in Russia already. I have a very good colleague who some of you may know in Dennis Andreyuk at NTMDT. Dennis has been very helpful in connecting me with some of the right people like Sergey and the people at Rus Nano, so we certainly would like to help if we can. Just going to take a look now, a short introduction as to how we can enhance the presence of a company like yours on the web. First and foremost, I want to start with looking at the issue of content on the internet. And first and foremost, content that we would recommend that you try and produce and how that will help your presence as a business on the internet. Going back to something that was said by Rupert Murdoch, who hopefully most of you know as a reasonably well-known global businessman, he mentioned that back in 2010 that content is not just king, it is the emperor of all things digital. So I'm going to start the conversation really from the top of here, why content is so important on the internet nowadays. If we look at the businesses that we have in terms of our portfolio, we cover a number of disciplines, from materials to nanotechnology, optics, clean technology, building, sensors, mining, robotics, and we also operate one of the world's largest medical news portals on the web. What you really need is lots of relevant quality content. This can be very expensive, but we can actually help you get around that by helping you in the right places to establish what you need to do and the best way for you to be able to do it. How can we help you push your nanotech products around the world in the best possible way? then that's certainly what we want to be able to see what we can do and how we aim to do it. Just taking the two sites that would be of particular interest or have been very long-standing. Hi everybody, Sergey, I don't know if you could hear me or if everybody can hear me. Yes, okay. Shall I continue? Of course. Okay, no problem. So, what I was saying is that just to give you a short introduction to where we are for those that may have just joined us, we operate a suite of websites globally. Two of the sites that would be of most interest to our audience today would be AZONano.com, the A to Z of nanotechnology, and AZOM.com, the A to Z of materials. These are global websites, and we are the online leaders in materials and nanotech information. We have an audience around the world in excess of 15 million visitor sessions a year, and this is from countries all over the world. And just to go back for those of you who have just joined us, this is an outline of who we are and the other sites that we operate. So we have a lot of experience in this field. Just in terms of the global coverage for AZONano, here is a breakdown of the key countries and the established and the emerging nano markets. So of course you would expect to see in most cases the United States at the top of the list, and these are largely English-speaking languages, English-speaking countries, of course. We've seen a big growth over a number of years now from places like India. Obviously Japan is a very important market, as is the UK and Germany, and even the Far East through Malaysia and Indonesia. So this of course is very, very important for you possibly as businesses that might want to reach a much wider audience in terms of the information and the services that you have. So it would allow you to move outside of just the Russian market as well. What we have for AZOM, the A to Z of materials, is an audience that's probably double the size of AZONano, but AZOM is specific to engineering materials. So this is everything within the materials industry, from polymers to composites to whether it be microscopy or various studies with things like that. So this is the breakdown for AZOM.com, which again, as we say, is a substantially increased audience because of the subject area and the nature of what we do. So essentially, these are the two websites which would provide the greatest amount of scope and coverage for your businesses if you wanted to promote yourselves outside of Russia and around the world, but also within Russia as well. I'll talk to you in a short while about translation and how that can have an impact on what you do. Just so you can see, for many years, from some of the businesses here, we've been representing companies all over the world, some very high-end scientific businesses, well-known businesses, large and small, so some really large businesses in terms of their sheer global presence, but also smaller businesses as well, and we've helped them promote their activities around the world. These are just some other examples, people like FEI and Hariba, Vico, which is now of course Bruker. So we have lots of global businesses that advertise with us, which is a genuine sign of success, for what we've been able to do. Now, just in terms of what we want to talk about today and how can we help you represent your business on a much more global platform, here are just a couple of comments that are very relevant. This particular one is from ASM International, which is the Society of Materials in America, a huge organization. But what they're talking about here is the important comment is, thanks for staying alert and keeping ASM in front of the world. Now, we haven't done that by their website, we've done that by them being present through our website. So that's obviously important. And remember, on the internet and on the web, it doesn't matter where your content resides. What really matters is that it's found, and that's one of the most important factors. The other thing as well is also note the comment here. This is just from a global advertiser that some of you may know, from Malvern Instruments, and particularly the comment there is that we've obviously delivered, but also we've exceeded their expectations in terms of what we promised them to help them promote their businesses. So we have a very well established footprint on the internet globally for a number of disciplines, but particularly within the nanotech space. AZONano is the largest and most popular nanotech destination on the internet. Now, in terms of content, content is the most important thing for any business on the internet, whether it's via your own website or whether it's via websites like ours. Now, the type of content that we need to focus on, or help you as a business focus on, is really the type of content that we could say, quite jokingly, the content is king, Tsar, or president. And what is the kind of content that we need to look at? We have everything that runs on our websites, from news to application information to products to videos to press releases. And these are some of the things. For example, what do we mean by quality content? Well, this is an example. We have a thought leaders series across all our websites, where people like yourselves from the global community who are involved in very interesting and cutting edge technology and work can present themselves through a series of thought leading articles on the Nano platform and on the Azon platform. This is by invitation only, but it's obviously designed to ensure that we provide the best quality content on the internet. So there may be a number of you in the audience today that would be interested in contributing to the Thought Leaders series, both on Azon and Azon Nano. This is done by invitation only. We would be happy to extend an invitation to any of you that wanted to contribute. And we simply ask you to provide maybe 1,200 to 1,500 words with some good images. Now, a site like Azon Nano, this is where we can help you write good quality content, or certainly go towards pointing you in the right direction. And the Thought Leaders series is just another example of just the quality of the content that we are interested in hosting on our website. So this is one area. Now, in terms of application-based yes, Sergey, 12 to 1,500 words, but basically the easiest thing to do there is for me to maybe send you, Sergey, a standard invitation, and then you could look through that and then distribute it around the people within some of the portfolio companies that you feel would be appropriate. So we would certainly be interested in receiving that kind of content, and I'll happily send everybody the link so they can actually see the whole series themselves. We have a huge amount of information in the Thought Leaders series. This is an example of a good quality application based note. So let's take a customer of ours, NTMDT, based in Zelenograd, who I see regularly and we've worked with for a number of years now. They provide very good quality content, which is application based, written internally, and they are very good at this because they have a lot of experience, but they write it correctly. But this is one area where we can help you enormously, is as a business, if you can write good quality application-based information, there is a huge amount that we can do with this for you on the internet. You provide, this is one of the areas where we make our money and we make our business, is by helping you promote this kind of content across the internet. You simply provide us with the content, we charge you a standard fee during the course of the year, and then basically our editorial team will help you with the optimization of everything. In terms of news, so we have a number of outlets. So news is hugely important, and as I'm sure most of you have tried to do over a period of time, is how can we distribute your news around the world. Now, we have companies that do send us well-written press releases, and I'm going to give you an example in a short moment about what is a good press release and what isn't a good press release. But there is a huge amount that we can do, and well-written news releases will help you, your presence on the web, and certainly we can do a lot with the press releases. Video is another example. The quality of the video is important. In terms of where and how you shoot it. Some of the videos that we host for companies are ones that we have actually shot ourselves at various exhibitions around the world. But again, this is something that can be done in your own offices with a product and a good product manager that maybe speaks strong English, and they can be a short video. We would recommend that anybody producing a video, if you actually want to have the best results from it, keep it to under 4 minutes. So anywhere between 3 to 4 minutes would be absolutely fantastic. And again, you can host that on your own website. You can create your own YouTube website as well within YouTube, but also we can host the videos for you. And this is something that we don't charge for. So if you have video content, you can send it to us and we will distribute it to our audience and around the world. So, and again, if you are attending exhibitions, we may well be in attendance at the exhibition and we would be happy to shoot videos for you if we were at the same exhibition. They are probably, at the moment, on the internet, the second most important element within somebody's website. If I said to you that the way that Google thinks about the internet and websites, the number one most important thing at the moment is unique content. So this is the application-based information we're talking about, and this is the press releases, white papers, product information is very important. Second is video. Video is now hugely important, but of course, who owns YouTube? Google owns YouTube, so I'm slightly more cynical about that, but video is hugely important. And also social interaction. So things like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, these are all now very, very important as well. But a little more on that in a short while. So why is good quality so important, and why is it important on a site like AZONano? If we're looking at the Google perspective, this gives you an example. Is quite simply, your primary goal with the content is to ensure that you're found on Google. Now this is an example of how Google would look at AZONano in relation to the amount of content we carry for, let's say, a search for nanotube. What this shows is that Google sees that we have 58,000 results on our website for nanotube. So that makes us very relevant, very prominent, and very important. Google recognizes the value of the amount of content held by a site like ours, hence the reason why we have such a high degree of popularity. In terms of news, news is hugely important. If I just explain for a moment, Google News, which is the biggest aggregator of news in the world, only uses around about 25,000 websites around the world to gather its news from on a daily basis. And that's from everything to medicine, to tractors, to farms, to beauty, to health, to materials, to nanotechnology. There are only around about 5,000 English-speaking or English-written Google News websites, and we operate 9 websites, and all of them are accredited Google News sites. So if you send us your press releases, well, in terms of the reach, Sergey, I'm going to come on to that in a second, but in terms of the reach, this is a global reach. So if you provide, let's say today, for example, Sergey sends me a press release for Rust Nano. Within maybe an hour, 1 hour to 2 hours, we will post it on our website, and within maybe 1 hour, it will be around the world on Google News. And it doesn't cost anything. We don't charge you to post your press releases around the world. So if any of you have press releases, we are happy to take them. We will look in a moment at what constitutes a well-written press release as opposed to something that we would find difficult to use. But it's a genuinely global reach. Say, for example, AZONano, we have in excess of 5 million visitor sessions a year, a lot of which is generated by traffic from news that has been distributed elsewhere. So it's hugely important. But again, there's a key factor in how to write a good press release and what constitutes a good press release. But again, if you just look at the breadth and depth of what we cover with AZONano, for example, this shows you here that we have just within Google 251,000 results just for news. So it's a hugely important consideration in terms of how we can spread your news around the world. let's just look for a moment at some of our clients who are extensive publishers of news. Let's take Malvern Instruments again, who are very, very good at this. They produce press releases almost on a weekly basis. Now, there's nothing to say that that's actually done through an agency. So they employ a very good agency here in the UK to produce these press releases for them. So that is certainly something I'm going to come on to in a second, and something that is really worth looking at. So this just gives you an indication of how much news and what strength it has, because we will continue to host every news item on our website, but it also provides you with a much bigger presence through the search engines over a longer period of time. Again, as well, we could look at somebody like NTMDT, that are a very good example of a Russian company who are very switched on in terms of news generation. Good question, Sergey. Yep. How much news do people publish in English annually? I do sometimes wish that English wasn't the global language, as it would mean that we had to learn other languages. But unfortunately, that's the way it is, and it's the most widely spoken language in this community. But I will come on to something in a second as well, Sergey. It's a good point that you make about the translation facility that we provide with our content. But just going back to NTMDT, these are a good example of a business based in Russia that write good, strong, well-written English press releases and have genuinely got the right format and the right template. So they do a very, very good job of this. Now, just to say, we would always, where possible, want to receive the press releases in English, because that's our native language and this is how we distribute it. But what we also have is that we can ensure that your articles as an advertiser or your press releases can be found in 20 different languages. So we translate everything. Sorry, Sergey. Okay. We translate everything into 20 different languages. So if you provide us a press release in English, we will then post it on our site predominantly in English, and then what will happen is it will be translated live on the website by using a machine translation, which we're informed is in most cases equal to or superior to Google Translate. And again, this content is basically produced or translated in the language within the search engines as well. So it's actually optimized for the search engines in that language as well, whether it's Russian, Portuguese, German, or whatever it may be. So, Sergey, I note that you have a problem at the office at Rust Nano. Am I okay to continue? Okay, that's good. Thank you, Irina. So we will translate your articles, your product pages, your press releases. So this is one way. Also with news. Okay, that's good. You can hear me okay, Sergey. Also with news, what we can do is we will push your news out through the social media. So things like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, we use all the social media to promote your press releases, your stories, your videos, or whatever it may be. So there's a huge amount we can do with this. Tim Harper here, who we've highlighted, for example, is a leading nanotechnologist globally. And this is where we post something, he retweets it to his followers. So it's a huge thing that for us to be able to do. On Facebook, which we only started probably about 4 or 5 months ago, we now have nearly 2,000 followers on Facebook, and on Twitter we're upwards of 3,500 in some areas, but also more on other websites. But we intend to make a big move forward in these areas during the coming year. So it's certainly a great outlet that we can provide. It may well be as well that you find that an app, and we have apps for mobile devices, these are hugely popular, that the apps are also a great way for us to distribute your news. As soon as we post your news or your applications or your products on our websites, they're also available through the apps as well. And they can be found. I'll certainly send everybody the links to those, but they can be found on iTunes as well, and via other methods. So we've tried to use all the social media, all the available platforms and the tools. These apps are very popular, and also we can distribute everything via the search engines, and not just Google. We have to consider the other search engines as well, like Bing and Yahoo and things like that, where we also appear very prominently. So we can do a huge amount with your content. Just for a second as well, even though we won't have time today to discuss writing good content, I wanted to offer you some specific guidance on press releases and what constitutes a good press release, and also what's a bad press release. So here is typically what we would receive from the agency for Malvern Instruments. They will send us a press release. Now, interestingly, the press release details the actual customer using a specific equipment in a specific application. So press releases, we have some minimum requirements. One is you must make sure it's 250 words or more. You must also make sure that it comes complete with a good image. A good image will go a long, long way. We need an obvious and interesting subject line. So we have to have a good heading and a good subject line. So some thought needs to go into that. You need a well-written title that covers the main points. So you can have an interesting subject line, but also a well-written title that covers the main points. So it does take a little bit of thought, but it's very important. The email, this is very important. The email is in HTML. It's well formatted with excellent English. What we have to try and avoid is where we receive lots of press releases where we have to do a lot of work in re-editing and converting, I wouldn't say badly written, but badly translated press releases. That's very difficult, and because we filter so much news on a day-by-day basis, it's important that it arrives in the best format that you can. It's also worth noting that we need a Word. These press releases, for example, come as a Word document with a good quality image. So this is the template to say this is how you can produce a good press release. It has a good title, a good heading, it's well written, it comes in a Word document, and we have a good quality image. And it's a minimum of 250 words. So these are some really basic but incredibly important tips as to how you can write it. The other thing to consider as well is if it's a major problem for people to translate accordingly, it's worth considering PR agencies or media agencies in the UK. They can be very expensive at times, albeit they don't necessarily, they're not all expensive, but they are very effective because they can often remove the issues that you might have in terms of creating press releases or application notes or product information in English, in good quality English. So again, we would be more than happy. It's maybe something that Sergey could help with or certainly point people in the right direction, but we can certainly help with putting you in touch with good agencies in the UK and in the US who do this on a regular basis for lots of other clients. So there's certainly some way of thinking about other ways that this can be done. And the contact as well for a follow-up is clearly marked. So make sure that we know who we need to tell about the press release being posted and the fact that it's gone out onto Google News. We will, of course, let everybody know that we have a relationship with, that this has also been posted. Some other issues to consider. You might want to take a look at this. We've had a look at what's good. This is an example of what's not so great. Is that somebody here is pretty repetitive. There's no headline. Well, there is, but it's not that great. In terms of audience, Sergey, we cover everybody from scientists to academia to research and development to materials scientists to materials engineers to students and again major institutions. So it's pretty much everybody with an interest in various areas of nanotechnology or materials. We can appeal to them all. I would say who is the biggest audience? I would say it's certainly scientists, academia, and also materials, well, engineers and scientists working in that field. And yes, I can certainly send you some information on the audience. This is something we're gathering more information on as we go forward. But just going back to the press releases, here's an example of something that's not very well written, albeit it comes in a Word document. They've not really thought about the title, and also the subject matter isn't that great. So this is probably an example. It's not fantastic. Somebody's asking me there, will the corporation with us buy a fee? I'm going to explain that in a second. I'll show you some of the things that we would charge you for and some of the things that we don't charge you for. So this will be discussed in a moment. So this is with press releases. In terms of how we can help and in terms of what we can provide, we have a balance. We believe that our business survives through us generating revenue through advertising, but also we want to help businesses in the best possible way that we can. Just a question from Boris. Would it be possible to make a questionnaire on some particular topics on a taken audience? Yes, certainly. We're open to suggestions here. We can target particular audiences as well. And in particular, Boris, it's a good question. Probably in around about April or May of this year, we will have a new system and a new process that will allow people to target things very, very specifically. So yes is the answer to that. And we're prepared to work with you all in areas that you might think is the most important. In terms of products that we would charge you a fee for, we operate side feature adverts which appear on the right or left hand side of the pages on every page across the site. Banner adverts, which are the premium positions at the top and bottom of the pages. Equipment listings, whereby you can advertise your product within specific categories, let's say AFM or atomic force microscopes, or nano indentation testers, or scratch testers, or tribometers, or atomic absorption spectrophotometers. We have hundreds of categories. And also application notes. So we can take your application-based information and take it around the world and expose it to a huge audience. So we've kept this very simple. This is what you can pay for. And this is what you don't pay for that comes as part of our service that we would offer to everybody. So we don't charge for press releases. There is no fee. We don't charge to host your videos and promote them around the world for you. There's no fee. If you're an advertiser, we will provide you with performance reports. We will provide you with sales leads. We will provide brochure downloads whereby the user can actually download your brochure that we host on our website. We provide you with the information. One of the key things about what we can provide is the relevant global audience, and it's very targeted. If people aren't interested in nanotechnology, they won't remain on AZONano for very long, or AZON. So it's very targeted to begin with. Search engine optimization, whether that's through press releases or whether it's through videos or whether it's through content, we can offer a huge amount of optimization for your company and your website in English, but also in other languages. And as I mentioned before, one of the important things is the Thought Leaders series. This is only as good as the content provided, but it's hugely popular, and we would welcome any of you that have good stories to tell, where the content is interesting, it's new, it's relevant, it's thought leading, it's cutting edge. We were certainly interested to include you in the Thought Leaders series. So in summary, basically we can provide the leading online destinations. We have a proven business over the last 10 years in terms of optimization, coverage, and also a return on investment for companies that are advertising with us. We have a high relevance of traffic. We have 10 years experience globally online. We aren't a business that have been printing. We're a business that have always been online. And yes, Sergey, a press release around about 250 words minimum is our policy, and a thought leader story, a good starting point is 12 to 1500 words. We don't want a journal paper or a white paper. We want something that's easy for people to digest and download, and something that's easy for us to optimize. And I will send everybody a number of examples. You can, of course, visit AZO Nano or AZON. I added the links into the chat here, and you can just, the Thought Leaders series is in the middle of the home pages, so you can always look at those. So in summary, we have accredited Google News sites, we have a global audience, we have a global brand awareness, but above all, what we can provide is customer service. We're interested in helping you present your businesses around the world, and we're interested in helping you distribute your information in the most targeted fashion that we can. And we certainly would welcome the opportunity to work with any of you and start that process. If you need any more information, I will be distributing a copy of this through Sergey to everybody, and then we would welcome your input and your content from there on in. Certainly happy to receive any press releases, happy to work with you. I make reasonably frequent visits to Moscow, so again, we will. I'm more than happy to meet with you in person, and as and where we can be. In terms of the prices, yes, the simpler the better. In terms of the prices, I'm going to provide Sergey with a media pack. But just to give you an indication, let's say, for example, application notes. If we sell these in blocks of 10 for the year, so for example, if you provided us with 10 application notes, we would charge, I'll give you the figure in US dollars for ease, we would charge $2,000 US on AZON and $1,500 on AZO Nano for the 10 articles. That's not for each article, that's for all 10 for a full year. And you simply send us the articles in a PDF or a Word document, and then we do the rest of it. Our editorial team will do all the work on the optimizing, the editing, the uploading, and adding the videos. So a product page or an equipment listing, typically you can advertise one product, and that product might be relevant to 3 categories, but you only pay for the one product a flat fee of, again in US dollars, $480 for the year. So again, if you have 5 products, you might pay $2,500, and again they run for the year. So everything on the web, guys, is very much about keeping things simple, keeping it effective, following the tips that we've given you here, but also focusing on the simplicity of good content, whether it's a press release, whether it's an application note, whether it's a white paper. It's really important that you stick to the guidelines and use the guidelines as best as you can. So, and yes, I was just looking at that to say, I've seen your question to Aleski, is we do, Leica are working with us on AZO Nano, and we're just in the process of firming up a new program with the people in the United States. So so that's pretty much everything that we've covered here for now. We only have a limited time, but it's certainly interesting to see that we can make a big impact for everybody, and we can certainly help. I will ensure that I liaise with Sergey, but if everybody wants to contact me directly, then there are my contact details, but we will be distributing this as well. So thanks everybody for your time, and I shall remain online where we have some questions. So please feel free if there's anything anybody wants to ask me. Yeah, just in terms of graphics, yep, well, I can certainly provide some examples of graphics, Sergey. In terms of graphics for adverts, this is something that can either be done internally, or we can produce them externally here for a small fee. So if somebody wants to run adverts, we can provide you with these, and we can provide you with a small fee that we would charge. For example, some of the companies, people like NTMDT or AIST, people like that, they will basically produce their own in-house. Partners in Russia, good question. As I mentioned, we have worked with for a long time with NTMDT in Russia. We also deal with AIST-NT. We are building more relationships with other businesses as well. I was at Nano this year, or last year, as Sergey mentioned, and it was certainly a place where there are more opportunities for us, and certainly more partners. So this is something of a new venture for us as well, is to try and help companies like yourselves within Russia who really want to expand beyond those borders and those boundaries. So yes, we have some good partners in Russia and some people we work with very closely. In fact, I would be happy to provide everybody with a testimonial in terms of some very kind words from Denis Andreuk at NTMDT. So I'm not sure, Alexei, if that's for me in terms of media partners. We obviously have a relationship with Sergey and Nano, which we will hopefully develop over the next couple of years as well, because again, there's lots more we can do here. But by all means, when I distribute the information through Sergey, if anybody does want to contact me directly, please feel free to do so. Please feel free to send over your press releases. We now have more and more and more. Good question. Let me just give you this. There's a good starting point for press releases. And again, you can send them to my email address there, to Rolf Easto at AZONetwork.com. But also a good point is, if you are unsure as to whether or not what you have is well written or it translates well, feel free to send them, and we can come back to you and we can tell you whether or not it's acceptable, or what would be a good way of changing it, or whatever needs to happen. So, and again, I think it's important to say there is no limit to the amount of press releases or videos. Just one thing I must tell you is it's very important with a press release that you send it to us immediately that it's written. Please don't send anything that's maybe 2 weeks old, because we won't be able to post it and it won't get the coverage in Google News. We have to be very careful to maintain our status within Google News, and that we can only do that by ensuring that the content is very new and very current. So that's certainly something bearing in mind. I wouldn't want somebody to send me 10 press releases tomorrow that were from last year, because there is very little we'll be able to do with them. But again, any questions, anything like that, then you can certainly let me know. Okay, I'm not quite sure there. Have you got any problems in Russia? Not quite sure what you might mean in terms of problems with what. We personally, as a business, we have no problems in Russia. It's a place I thoroughly enjoy visiting. It's and we certainly see lots more potential and opportunities there. So in mass media, no, not really. we tend to find that are there press releases appear in the news column of the website? Yes, yeah, that's exactly where you would find the press releases, the latest press releases. You can also go to the websites and search for whatever it is you may be looking for, and then you can select what information you want to see, whether it's news, articles, videos, products, books, whatever it may be. You can visit the website. I will give you an example here. Let's say, well, let's use NTMDT as a good example. So you can go here. Just give me 1 second. So you could, maybe not. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm just trying to post a link for everybody. There, okay. So you could actually look at the link I've just posted there, and that will show you it's just a general search for NTMDT, and then you can actually search for NTMDT by news, by articles, by supplier, by equipment. So you can filter what you want to see and where you want to see it. In terms of nano centers in Russia, we have received quite a bit of information over the last couple of years from different places in Russia, but a very small amount. And I think this is changing, obviously, as the nano market in Russia grows quite dramatically. There's been some big changes. So we're now starting to see more press releases, more information, more videos. But for example, I think a good example was a show like Rus Nano. When I attended Rus Nano, was just going back to your question in terms of nano centers, we wouldn't be able to give you the exact numbers simply because we receive information through lots of channels and it doesn't necessarily always come across my desk. We have, I would have to go away and review, but I know in particular that it would only be institutions largely in Moscow at the moment that we've had dealings with. So we're certainly interested, but I can always look at that and provide more information. But I think the important thing is as well is that companies, you can search and find what it might be that you're looking for. So we are now seeing that a show like Rus Nano, I was surprised that with it being an international show, there was still a lot of the literature and a lot of the signs and everything was still largely in Russian. So it may be something of an issue if we're going to help move forward, is to really try and expand that, because it was hopefully Rus Nano, the show itself, which I thought was fantastic, is an international show. Closest competitor of AZO, we have a few competitors, Alexei. It depends whether it's in nano or materials or news, but there are websites like things like Nanotech Web in the UK, things like NanoWork, but NanoWork have had problems recently because of Google, but not really any major competitors as such, because there's nobody that really does things the way that we do it. There's nobody that combines everything with press releases and videos and application-based content and thought leaders and brochures and sales leads and everything. So, and the fact that we've done this for so many years is a huge thing for us, and that the sites are accredited Google News sites. But it's a good question. Within the materials industry, competitors, we would have companies like Direct Industry and Global Spec. Maybe years ago it would be something like Thomas Register, but not what it used to be anymore. So and maybe sites like Lab Compare and things like that. But again, it's a good question. There is nobody out on the internet in our industries that does the kind of things that we do in terms of offering everything, as opposed to just one or two channels to market. And the other thing being is that, of course, there is a lot of things, as I've mentioned already, that we don't charge for. So I think in summary, the good way to do it is to test us out and to see the kind of service that we provide. I don't think we would be making this presentation today if Sergey and the team at Rust Nano didn't feel that we had something to offer that was of genuine benefit on a global basis. And that might not be for everybody, but it's certainly relevant for those of you that are looking to really expand. And remember, the translation of press releases and content is very important, because of course that means that we can distribute this in lots of different languages. And if you look back at the statistics, if we just revisit quickly online, if I just take you back to some of the recent statistics here, just bear with me for 1 second. We look at a market like Japan in terms of an established nano market. Japan is a country with an issue of language, whereby it's very rare that they will read English websites. So what we've done is, by converting and translating the articles, we've started to make a big impact in countries like Japan. And we will continue to try and improve and enhance the translation tool as we go forward. So there's many different things as well. But any more questions from anybody? Okay, no problem at all. No problem. Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't sort of spend more time. It's because obviously we have lots of people present, but please, by all means, feel free to contact me, and we would welcome the opportunity to work with all of you. And hopefully I may well be able to meet some of you in person during the course of this year. As I say, maybe exhibitions in Europe or in the US, or particularly in Russia as well. So I travel a lot, and I can be in many places at many times. Unfortunately, not in 3 places at the same time. But thank you, everybody. Quite happy to come to Siberia, Diana. People often say they will send me there. So there you go. Thanks, everybody. I'll stop my video webcam now, but I'll keep looking at the chat. So please remember, I would really like to hear from everybody. So have a good week, and hopefully we'll talk to you all soon.